Just wanted to say hello, happy Christmas after Christmas. Time to now focus on the new year that's coming. Hopefully, you guys have a little bit of time off now until New Year's Eve. Yeah, and it's great to be back. I'm wearing another sweater, ugly Christmas winter sweater time. I'm slowly but steadily starting to run out of sweaters, but for now, I had this one, and I probably have a bunch of ugly sweaters, but they need to have a right Christmas kind of theme. So yeah, but welcome to the stream, guys. Great to have you around. Been just doing the classic internet kind of work. I wanted to upload another video or two to YouTube, but I didn't have the time. I was recording something else before that, but I will do it later. Later today, I will post maybe 3 or 4 videos. So there will be something to watch over the holidays. I'll try to also post a few long form videos. They might, so you have a little bit to watch. And yeah, apart from that, everything okay, everything great. Just recovering, watching terrible movies, terrible Christmas movies. We just watched Karate Kid 4, the one with Hilary Swank, and it is a terrible movie, but I sometimes like to watch it because it's just so classic 90s kind of thing. The vibe is just perfect 90s cheap television movie, and I like that. I'm not sure when it came out, maybe 1994, something like that. I would guess. Yeah, so I watch it every time it's on, and this morning it ran around 8 in the morning, 8 a.m. And yeah, they're not really giving it a good spot, so it was just fun catching it at that time. And later today, I'm not sure what I will watch. Maybe a horror movie. I've finished the new season of Stranger Things, the episodes that they put up. They just released a bunch, maybe 4 episodes, and I've watched them now, and I'm a little bit disappointed. I actually liked the first season. So yeah, let me see what's coming in here. Hey, welcome to the stream. Great to have you around. Yeah, I was just talking about the stuff that I was watching this morning and the last days. Over Christmas is always a great time to watch movies. And this morning I watched Karate Kid 4. And it's really one of the worst ones. Hey, good morning. Great to have you around. So yeah, I found another sweater just in time for the end of the Christmas winter season here. Maybe I'll find another 2 or 3, we'll see. I have a bunch of ugly sweaters, but I usually never find them. Because it's something you just don't get out of bed and think you put something like this on. It rarely happens. So yeah, but great to be back. Thank you. I just love collecting that kind of stuff. I wish I could do it more. But at some point you also need to, it's enough. Oh yeah, over here it's really cold. Temperature here is just barely below 0, maybe 2 or 3 below 0. But really it feels so cold. It feels like -10. So yeah. Let me see what's going on here. Yeah, it keeps kind of the auto moderator keeps kind of, I don't know, glitching, sometimes removing something. I'm not sure why, but it's okay. Great to have you around. Yeah, just talking about stuff I was doing over Christmas. I watched the movie Krampus, and I really believe that's going to be some sort of a Christmas classic. And yeah, I watched Stranger Things, something completely un-Christmas like, but I wanted to watch the new season, and I really didn't like it so much. I was just talking about it earlier. Everything looks so fake. Everything looks like a Hollywood movie, like a Marvel movie. Felt like they would have done better to just put a better script in and just focus on quality writing. But yeah, we had the wind yesterday, couple of days ago maybe. Stuff flew through the garden everywhere. It's funny how that kind of connects in Europe, right? So we had it maybe 3 days ago. So it took a while to get through Europe. Okay, so yeah, I want to get started. I brought the seedlings here, going through them again. And it's so many. I feel like I've sown out way too much. But what are you going to do? I mean, if we're not sowing them out, the seeds become old. And that would be terrible too. So we would see. We'll get used to it. At some point, we will scale down a little. So these are looking great. Yeah, I'm just right now. The heaters in the greenhouses are running. So I'm always glad when the temperatures aren't so cold that I have to pay for heating. But right now, it's just that they are running all the time. And I don't know, it's just that the temperature even feels colder. Even the greenhouse doors were frozen, and the greenhouse is heated. So yeah, felt really bad last few days. I was really thankful that I have a window, that I have a heater. Like the basic things in life. I was so happy that everything works. It always happens that when the winter begins, I can't order the heating oil yet because it costs so much. You have to order quite a lot at once. So every now and then in winter, I really freeze here. And I was just thankful that that is all behind for this year, that I can now focus on just doing the sowing out stuff, cactus stuff. Yeah. Makes you appreciate the little things in life. Just at night when I go into my bathroom, that I can see the moon again. The last month I had that nailed shut. So yeah, just happy about that it's the way it is right now. Was hard enough for a while. So yeah, these are looking great, but obvious variegation going on, and I'm not sure if you can see it in the video, but some are yellowish. I feel like super apricot is a little bit vulnerable to that kind of stuff, to discolorations, from the fertilizer, but also from just cold weather, water. Yeah, I mean, send me a photo on social media. I'm happy to have a look. But usually, if you get discolorations around that time, it doesn't always mean that it's an infection. It can be the beginning, but very often the plant just manages to heal it, to get it under control. So I just hope that it's just nothing big. My super apricot also has problems in winter. I have grafted 1 or 2, and these are all right. I feel like maybe it has some sort of a genetic, a tiny something that makes it more vulnerable for that. I definitely noticed it, and I have a huge plant of super apricot, pretty big, and it hasn't been really flowering well in forever. But the tiny plant that I have grafted it pushes out flowers out every year, every summer. So I'm not sure. Super Apricot is just a some sort of an intergeneric hybrid, a little bit wider cross. So it can make sense that that it's just sometimes sickish. I don't know, but it sometimes isn't all right. So yeah. Okay, I'm closing these up again. These look great. I like that. I just hope that I can get them to adulthood. I stopped seeing seedlings as something that is just, that's already there. I always treat seedlings like they are, we could lose them at any time. Because that's how it is very often. Seedlings are just, they are good 2 years away from having reached the size where they are safe. So these are looking good, but relatively young. Just came up. So by the way, I wanted to say something. Earlier today, I've been getting kind of mad. So I was watching stuff on social media, and it feels like in the last maybe 6 months, social media has really chosen the dark side. That is something that, like, you're seeing stuff on social media now, just really bad stuff, and they're not doing anything. It feels like they're just letting it go, letting it run completely without moderation. That's how social media feels today, and very often you have to do with people that are just, I don't know. It just feels like the quality of the discourse on social media has become even worse recently, and it wasn't already great. I'm someone who, in the past, I post a lot on Facebook because that's just with the groups, with the Cactus groups. We just had a great community that came together and allowed us to fund certain projects. And yeah, but social media also has some sort of responsibility. And right now, they're totally failing. I don't know why. Okay, yeah, I mean, you need to be careful if you spray in winter. If you have the plant in a cold greenhouse, if you have the plant somewhere where it's warm, then that's a good approach. I wouldn't water it when it's standing cold, because it could get wet feet. That's how they call it. But apart from that, that's usually a great thing to improve health. All kinds of plant extracts, of course, in combination with a good fertilizer. But like I said, with Super Apricot, I've seen it getting discolorations from fertilizer. So be a little bit more careful when you are fertilizing it. Okay, yeah, these are looking okay. So yeah, in social media, I just feel like it is important for society that they get that under control. I don't know. I can't tell you how, but I just know that the way social media functions right now, it is intentionally trying to tear society apart. And that is something that I really dislike about social media. And I never thought that I would be in a position where I would say that, because I see a lot of good in social media. I've seen it firsthand, like the way we made the books, the way you can sometimes come together to help someone, to people that are in absolute urgent need because something terrible happened to them. That is what social media could be. But right now, I'm seeing it used just for propaganda, for just real evil stuff. So yeah, that was my thinking this morning, and I'm just disappointed. I think they need to do better in the future again, and because otherwise, we will get to a point when it becomes so obvious that social media is bad for us that there will be laws against it. And if I look at the current situation, it's not working the way it's working. Like right now, I don't feel like it's working with social media. And they could do so good. So I would just want them to kind of throw the evil stuff away that they are doing on right now. Everything, like trying to create a real diversion, hostile, like people arguing with each other. It's just a bad thing that social media, that it's good for social media when people argue, when society is split, when people are fighting against each other. That can't be good. It can't be good that something promotes it like this. That's something I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine with disagreeing, having arguments that are actually intended to solve a problem. But right now I see so much arguing, divisiveness, just for the sake of arguing without any real chance to come to a conclusion or something like that. So yeah, this morning I was a little mad, honestly, when I had to delay the stream a little bit because I was just seeing bad stuff on social media, really bad stuff, where I feel like if my kid were to watch that, I would not allow it. I would say no. That is where you're growing up without social media. That is something. If this is the kind of stuff, if this is really the standard they want to go to, then it's becoming a real problem for society. So they need to do better. I like social media because I see something good in it, but it always depends on the way you approach it. You can do this all kinds of ways, and if you try to use it in a positive way, it could be great. But right now, I feel like they're going into the wrong direction completely. So yeah, I just had to say that. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally understanding. I grew up with people that disagreed. It was a thing in my household. Like my parents disagreed. Then I grew up and everyone disagreed with each other about politics, and I understood. I'm friends with people that do not share the same political opinion that I do. But what I see right now on social media is different. It's just arguing for the sake of engagement, just for that click money. And that can't be. It can't be the goal of any kind of platform to actively worsen society. That is my opinion. So yeah, but I need to, I'm okay. I don't want to. This is the type of stuff I rarely talk about this because I understand that you can disagree, I understand that it is important often to disagree. But right now I'm just seeing people being played out against each other, when they are posting some kind of a clickbait headline that is intentionally made already to trigger people. And it goes on and on and on, and all that fighting, I just don't see the good in it. And it's a shame because I've seen so many good things also coming from the internet and from social media. Feel like we need to make sure that the internet stays a positive thing in the future. I think that is just something that my generation needs to do. That is something that it's a depth. It's a depth to have to being able to grow up with something that allows you to access knowledge everywhere, allows you to learn, allows you to become to learn different languages without even going anywhere. It allows people with handicaps to participate in society, and it allows people to come together to help someone. So that kind of stuff, but yeah, we need to. It's not something that we can take for granted. It needs to be continuously something you need to fight for all the time in a positive way, in political ways, in every way possible, because you can see that the internet can also damage society the way it is used for election interference, that kind of stuff. Really big problems for society. And I grew up with the internet. I love the internet. The internet allows me to sit here and have a talk with you. to have that channel that people watch to share my life. So the internet is great, but we need to make sure that it isn't turning into just something that's abused. Simple as that, for politics, for profit, for just simple. I don't know. I just know what I've been seeing in the last 6 months or so on social media. I haven't felt that in a long time. Yeah, that's also true. I believe that long term, people will walk away from that kind of a life. I believe long term, there will become some sort of a new group of people. I don't know what it's going to be or how it's going to be called, but it will be back to nature. It will be back to old values like quality work, handmade work that really that is valued and paid for in a fair amount. That kind of stuff where you spend more time with family away from a display, where you can just try to live the way we just it always was. We just haven't evolved for that kind of life. It's just the technical advancement in the last 50 years. It's just so much that our evolution, it will take us forever to adapt to that. So I believe at some point people will return to nature, a more basic kind of life, growing what you need, your own kind of plants. That is something also a theme of the channel. So I believe that will become huge in the future again. People growing their stuff again because they see that so much pesticides and bad stuff that is in the products, in the vegetables and all. So people will return to growing organically. These kind of themes. Yeah, I remember that was maybe 2010, and I was working, and I had a very cheap smartphone. It was one by Nokia, and when I went into the store, and the guy wanted to sell me something super expensive, and I was poor, So the guy was telling me, you definitely need that iPhone and all and that, And I told him I would love to get it, but I'm too poor. So I got me this Nokia thing, and it was a miracle for me. I looked at this thing. I was able to surf the internet from when in a road, like in a train, when on the road. So, and that kind of thing was so magical to me in the beginning. And it still is, you just when you hold something like a pad, no matter what kind of a manufacturer, that kind of thing, if you didn't know it beforehand, it would look magical. So like Steve Jobs said something like that, So for all that technical progress, we're not made to be available on call 24/7. Like there are people that don't even have their phone on mute, so it's pinging and ringing all night long, and that kind of thing, that it gets to you. At some point you are burning out because everyone, you are always available. It's like you're never really truly off. So that is the kind of stuff that I believe long term will become a problem, where they will show that this will have negative effects to our health. So yeah, I believe we are just living through that age where we show that there are these problems that come from it, from having these short videos all the time, just short attention span, that kind of content that has become normal. And yeah, it will become our problem, our generation's problem, to kind of use that knowledge and change how it's done. They will long term need to, I don't know, I don't think they should allow smartphones in school. That's a good start in my opinion, because it's always gripping people's attention and gripping it away from actually learning. if I were in school and had a smartphone, I wouldn't have learned. I would not. I would have watched wrestling. So yeah. Okay. There are seedlings here, and they look great. They look actually great. Oh, I'm sorry. Are they frost hardy? I'm not sure what kind of a plant it is, but I've read it before. So yeah, but I lost a bunch of plants too. I had forgotten to move a bunch of plants into the greenhouse, and I lost those all. And it was good that it happened because I didn't have space anyways. Even if I would have found them. Yes, thank you. It just filtered that comment out again about the birds and stuff. I'm not sure why, but I really that's how you can use it in a positive way. You know, you can use the internet, you can use social media to just live stream an hour a flower in my garden. That kind of stuff. You know, you could do so much good with it. How do you keep your seedlings from after the first repot? Look, I try to repot them carefully. That's the first thing. When you repot very early on, the seedlings are still pretty, like the root system is fragile. You can lose them pretty easily. In the last few days, I've shown a bunch where we transplanted and we lost a bunch just from the transplanting. So do it carefully. And then long term, I really recommend never letting them out of sight. And I don't mean like literal, but I just feel you need to keep an eye on them all the time. You need to know where they are. They need to be in a protected environment in some sort. If it's a greenhouse, and even in a greenhouse, make sure you put them at a spot where you see them. Because very often what happened with me, I put seedlings somewhere and forgot about them, and then I saw that at some point the slugs got them, or it had rained on them and they didn't take it, or you know, that kind of stuff. You often lose a seedling because it's somewhere where you don't see it anymore, and I recommend that you don't do that. So always, this year I want to try to keep the seedlings indoors for very long, for longer than usually. In the past, we were sowing out around December, and then I brought out the seedlings maybe April or May, and I brought them into the greenhouses. And I want to do that. I don't want to do that this year because I want to keep my eye on the seedlings a little bit longer, just so I do not happens that I don't get into a situation where I have great seedlings, and if I would put a lot of effort into them, they would make it, but I just lost track of them, and they are at the worst spot in the greenhouse. You know, you like it sometimes happens. You just put stuff everywhere you have space, and then you have something great that you lose because just the spot wasn't good. You should have repotted it, and when you have them indoors, you can kind of guarantee that you see them longer. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Let me continue. So, okay, these look great actually. Super healthy looking cactus seedlings. Columnar cross, also great. At least that's what I believe. Let me see. Could also be Gräser. No, it's a columnar cross. And they look so spiny for that. And that's it, you know, every now and then I see amazing seedlings that I had completely forgotten about. I try that it won't happen this time. Okay, so here's the washed pumice, and this thing made it very clear why the washed pumice, what I'm always saying, that it moves so easily. There's no seedling or barely any seedling that is still the way I put it when I closed it up. That gets to the point where you probably should add more stuff to make the soil more compact. But they had problems with the fungus gnats, so I didn't want to have anything else in it. Let's see. Just trying to reposition the seedlings because they were just lying on the side. Every time the pumice is just so light that every time you press against the walls of the pot, there's movement in the pot. That's what makes it so good for cactus culture, but it can be problematic then. And you don't have those problems with just classic sowing soil. But a lot of them look bad. These are damaged by the fungus gnats. Welcome to the fungus gnat channel. I would say that every time I have a fungus gnat problem. Okay. So yeah, and I decided that I want to buy the little jiffy pots for this kind of stuff, for tomatoes and carrots. So I will order them for the channel, and then we will be sowing them out. Okay, so yeah, this one, the seedlings look great, but there's moss down there. I hate when that happens. So I'm trying to disrupt the moss a little bit, and while I did that, I just found another seedling that I didn't even know was there. That's what I mean. You sometimes, you just don't know what's going on below it. Apart from that, they look great. Closing it up again. So today, I just noticed that it's Saturday. I didn't even notice from all the Christmas holiday stuff. I had completely lost track of what day actually is. It was just Christmas, you know. So now I look at the day and it's Saturday. Okay, these are looking also not so great, but a little bit better. Also in washed pumice this time. Yesterday evening, Kami and Mika, they both slept besides each other. I had put the little bed beside Mika's bed because Kami started to sleep there. She just wanted to sleep in Mika's bed. And I didn't want them to argue, so I put another little bed besides it. And they were so sweet yesterday evening. And they slept in it, both besides each other. And I was so proud. I was so happy because it was, Mika was very scared in the beginning. She was very easily freaked out. And I was just happy that she and Kami also are starting to become friends. That wasn't the case in the beginning. Mika just had too much energy. She's a young dog, and Kami's already a very senior cat. Yeah, but I really like that they are starting to become friends now. Okay, so this looks great. In this one also washed pumice, and all the seedlings are growing. You can really see that it's not that they are just in the pumice, but they are actively growing in the pumice, and that is great. I like that. Apart from that, yeah, everything okay. One or two seedlings that might not make it because these have been transplanted into the washed pumice just a few weeks ago, maybe, or maybe a week ago. And it's still too early to tell if we don't lose any more seedlings. But for now, it's looking good. Okay. So, seedlings, yeah. Looking good. Seeing no problem. And the soil is a little bit drier. Very common theme. I would try to kind of meet that humidity level long term. Also, a little bit on the dry side. And the seedlings look great. Yeah, I think we now have 1 to 2 months of growth, of seedling growth on the channel. They in the beginning, they are just growing very slowly. And you can speed things up a lot by fertilizing. And we will probably start with that sometime soon. It's slowly but steadily getting to the point where I want to fertilize. But for now, it's okay. We will do that later. Within the next couple of weeks, probably. Oh man, this Ziploc isn't broken, maybe. Okay. These are also looking great, really nice and healthy. Caesar La hybrids. Always welcome that kind of a hybrid. And I really need to make sure that I can get them to flowering, to actual flowering. I want to take more care to just mark the good crosses, just keeping eye on the good stuff. In the past, I had more, like, I try to treat every plant the same. But then you get into situations where just certain crosses are just much better than others. So, and when the space is so limited, you will have to maybe focus on a bunch of very specific crosses. And I want to do that more in the future. This Ziploc thing is broken. Oh, come on. Please. Ugh. I think this thing can't be saved. Gotta replace it. I try to reuse them. But at a certain point, the Ziploc just breaks. And then you are at risk that fungus gnats come into this thing, or maybe even mealybug. And I really want to avoid that. So I'm using a new one. Okay. I'm running out of space with all the containers. Okay. Looking good. Healthy looking seedlings, but way too young to really say much. You could really, no matter which cross you grow of these, they all have the potential to be awesome. And that's why in the past I try to just treat every plant the same, because you never know which cross will be the great one, the one unusually great one. But at some point you just run out of space. So you need to kind of calculate the likelihood that a certain cross will result in amazing offspring, and some crosses just have a much higher likelihood that they will succeed. Okay, these are Lobivia winteriana. Okay, with the winteriana seedlings, Lobivia seedlings, those are the ones where I really believe keeping them indoors will result in a much higher survival rate long term, because they are so easy to overwater. Then there are many problems with mealybug. So having them in a controlled environment helps a lot. If we would get mealybug indoors, we would completely get rid of them. In the past, I was a lot more worried about that than now. I had to learn how to get rid of them. You just need to learn how to do it because they are such a common pest. Hey, I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences for your cactus. I'm sorry. Sometimes, in most cases, it's something that we kind of did wrong. Like sometimes they are in the wrong environment. But you know, every now and then you also lose plants just because something, you know, an infection that you couldn't predict. Thank you. Yeah, it happens to all of us every day. I mean, even in the stream, there's so many seedlings. Yeah, very often when it's a bigger cactus, the more water, the higher the risk that something happens with the roots. You can certainly water a lot, but then you need a more mineral soil, fast draining soil, that kind of stuff. It's not easy. And once you have learned something, once you have mastered something, you realize that something else you did wrong all the time, and then you change that. You never really run out of things to learn. Okay. That's a shame. I mean, I would really recommend when you are growing something indoors, then get maybe a plant lamp, and when they have enough light, then it allows you to water them. It allows you to fertilize them without the risk that they will overwater when something doesn't get any kind of sunlight in winter. Like when you have a plant that's just inside in winter, they either need a lot of light, a lot of nutrients and water, or you have them a little bit cooler, maybe something like hibernating around 5-10 degree, and then they don't get any kind of water. So it always depends on the way you grow them, whether you have it warm or cold. Both can work. Yeah, it isn't really absolutely necessary with these kinds of plants to have them warm over winter and under a lamp. But if you can't give them a cold environment, like in a cellar, maybe 5-10 degree, not too much heat, not too cold, not frost, but a little bit above, that kind of a winter experience. When you can give them that, they usually don't need a lot of water, and by doing it that way, you prevent that they are overwatered. You know, it is very difficult to just have plants indoors and have the perfect humidity. Something is always missing. That the people often have to spray them if they have a summer feeling indoors. You can grow cacti indoors at high temperatures, but it's not easy. You have to do a lot of stuff at the same time, simultaneously, spraying them, watering, fertilizing, light. So yeah, sometimes it's easier to just have them cold. Friend of mine, he overwinters all his cacti in the cellar. He brings them out maybe in April, and yeah, in winter he brings them inside again, overwinters them in the cellar. And he's a great cactus breeder. So it can be done well, but I personally, I just, my style of growing is with a greenhouse. It's just the way I know it. It's the only way I know it. Yeah, that's pretty high. That's pretty high, and then you constantly need to find the right humidity and all. It's not easy, so I understand. Okay, yeah, I want to continue with the seedlings here. Just repositioning one or two so I can close it up again. Apart from that, these are also looking good. Yeah, an attic would work. If it's if you have a little bit of light in there, even better. I used to overwinter my cacti in the cellar, and since I have a central heating there, like a main heater that I cannot turn off, the temperature usually is too warm, and that is bad for the cacti because they will continue to grow and grow and grow. So you would have to water them also during winter, and the moment they start to grow, when the temperature is too high, they also need the light. And in the cellar they didn't get the light, so they always look bad when I brought them out again in spring. And since I got a greenhouse, I luckily don't have that problem anymore. Having a greenhouse really helped me. And if you can't get a greenhouse, sometimes you get these little micro mini greenhouses that you can put in the garden. You can work with these two. They are great. Reinhard Liske uses them, and he brings the plants out in April. And Reinhard Liske is one of the best breeders. Really good. Okay. Yeah, so here was a seedling that fell over. Temperature, as long as the temperature, it depends on what kind of a cactus you have, what kind of a plant you have. So look into the temperature requirements for everyone separately. But the ones that I'm growing here, the kind of Echinopsis, Sörensia, Lobivia, I usually have them at 1 degree Celsius. That's just above freezing, just barely above freezing, and they can take it. But there's some other Mexican cacti that are used to a little bit higher temperatures. So always look into, you can always Google it, for example, how much cold they can take, and whether or not the attic will be all right. You know, you can, some cacti can take pretty low temperatures. Okay, yeah, these are good. I will close it up again, and then I want to clean some seeds. I have a bunch of seeds here that I cleaned last season. And when I say last season, it's just a few months ago. So I want to back them up because they have been on paper towels for months. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're trying our best to grow a lot of the stuff that that we create, like the crosses that we make every summer. It would be a waste if we wouldn't sow them out. So every year I try to plant a lot. And now with the channel, with the stream, it's just a great subject of a stream. And I'm sure long term this will be interesting to see when you look at another stream, maybe when you look into a stream, maybe in 5 years, and you see some of the plants here finally flowering, that kind of stuff. I find that interesting. Okay. So these were from yesterday, and it was Gräsers Erfolg Selbstbestäubung, meaning a self-pollinated offspring of Gräsers Erfolg. And they have nice ruffled flowers. The flowers are really beautiful, and it's great to have seeds from them. This year I had a few of these old Gräser hybrids that had fruit. some 2, 3, and I really like that. This is the type of stuff that where it's really worth to use the space that you have, the little space for. Okay, so the next ones, these are pretty small seeds. Looks like clear Sörensia seeds. They are just smaller. Much smaller seeds. And very often, I no longer wash them in a sieve because the seed size is so small that they often go through the cracks. So when I clean them, I usually had to scrape them off the base of the sink because I noticed that they are starting to run through. So in the future, when I have a Sörensia fruit, a really small one, then I just try to get the seeds out without washing it. I was born in Saarland, Germany. That is some sort of a region between Germany and France, where that has changed which country it belonged to. So it's kind of a unique region. So I see myself more like a local Saarländer than I am a German. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, when I washed these seeds, I realized that they are literally in the sink, running away with the water. So I tried to grab whatever seed I could get with another paper towel. So this is a little bit chaotic here. But it's okay. I got a bunch of seeds. Oh, yeah. The dialect that it's a very similar dialect to Dutch. So it's as close as it gets. Probably a very similar kind of dialect. I'm not really, when I hear Dutch, I understand it. I can kind of, the words are similar, but it's still very unique. So I sometimes understand it, sometimes not. But you can really notice the similarities between the dialects. Okay. Yeah, and like the region where I'm from, it's very interesting just from a cultural point of view. Very unique kind of food, heavily influenced by the French, and that kind of a way of life. It's a really beautiful place. Okay, and yeah, there's so much history. You know, you no matter where you are, you live where they fought for like hundreds or thousands of years. Literally, the land here, because it's so close between the borderline, that they have constantly, that the ownership changed from like every 50 years or so. Saarland, like you spell it with an S, Saar, and land for land. That's yeah, it's an interesting history. They had some sort of a, it was a separate land in the 50s, in the 1950s, where it was actually a land outside of Germany. They had their own sort of national anthem and that kind of stuff, own coinage, and then it changed to Germany again, I think. And before that, it was French for a while. And I'm not sure how exactly the ownership was in the hundreds of years before, but it's been just so close at the border that it always changed, and that they were constantly fighting over it. and during the Second War, they did some sort of a referendum, like where they chose to be part of Germany at the time, which, looking back, didn't really pay off. So yeah, bunch of viable Sörensia seeds here, I guess. They look pretty good. I really want to sow them out. And this is from a cross with Hyalacantha. Yes, that's it. Echinopsis hyalacantha, also Sörensia. And I pollinated this with something like Lobivia venteriana. I'm trying to just get a interesting kind of contrast and pattern. The flower here was yellow. So I tried to combine it with a good contrast, with a nice white throat, something like that on the flower. That could work great. But I need to sow them out. If I never sow them out, then nothing will happen here. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like it's so unique in regards to the kind of the way the people are. They are doing a lot of comedy just with the dialect, because it's such a unique dialect. Even as a German, born German, it's sometimes not all of these accents in that area I can understand even. Some of them are really funny stuff that gets lost over the next, because so much of that local dialect is limited to little areas here and there, to little pockets here and there, and that makes it interesting. Every town has a different dialect in some parts of the area. I remember when I was with the family of my wife, they had, I didn't understand them very often when they were talking with each other, like my mother-in-law and her mother, or her mother-in-law. I'm not sure what it was, but I couldn't understand that local dialect. Okay, take care. Great to have you around. Thank you. So yeah, these are the Sörensia seeds. Sörensia hyalacantha. In my opinion, when I saw it, it was obviously a hybrid between Sörensia formosa and maybe Sörensia huasha, a thinner kind of Sörensia that just flowered a little bit earlier, a little bit easier, and with yellow flowers. It kind of, you could really see that it was, in my opinion, it was influenced by Sörensia huasha. So I made crosses with that plant a few times this year, and every time it took. Usually pollinated with Lobivia, and that is a combination that works pretty reliably. Yeah, and it looks good. I like that. I want to sow them out sometime soon, but it will take another week or two until we can do another wave of sowing out. I want to buy some of the stuff, and yeah, beginning of the year will be a little bit difficult with all the invoices, with all the bills that are coming at the beginning of the year. So I need to wait another week or two until I can order again. But yeah, then we're sowing out. I want to get the Jiffy pots, and then we're sowing out tomato and carrots and chili. I also picked out some interesting chili cultivars that I want to sow out. Could be great. I don't want to eat them really. I don't want to have anything overly hot, spicy. I just like them because they are cool plants. I feel like maybe you can do some interesting hybridization with all the different ones that are there. Could be really interesting from breeder's point of view. Okay. It's not perfectly clean yet, but we're getting there. And then I want to sow them out pretty soon, because these kinds of seeds, they just aren't viable for as long as the bigger seeds are. These will lose viability pretty fast. They remind me a little bit of Rebutia seeds that are also a little bit tiny, also very short shelf life. Okay. I'm honestly looking forward to the new year. I never thought that I would say that in my life, but I'm just glad when the old year is over. Looking forward to another season of the channel where I really want to put effort into it. Putting effort, a little bit more effort into filming. I got a new camera to do more time-lapse videos. And I'm looking forward to that. I want to have an amazing season. So yeah, I actually got me a separate smartphone contract just so I could stream from outside. So I can do time-lapse videos and streaming at the same time. So that would be great. Looking forward to that. Okay. So I think it's maybe 250 seeds. Not many. And with the low viability, we might actually end up with just a few seedlings. So we'll see. I will definitely sow them all out. Syrensia hyalacantha. In the past, there was a lot of debate about this plant, a lot of arguing. You know, things never change. If you look at the way things are done today, back then people already argued about where that plant came from, what it is, and I've seen it. It looks very, very much like a Syrensia. So I don't know who kind of thought that it would belong elsewhere, but to me it was a very visible Syrensia. You could still see the Syrensia formosa in the body and in the flower. Formosa has yellow flowers too, so you can really see it. And yeah, now seeing the size of the seeds, it also supports that theory. Okay. So this was multi-hybrid KA 2011-56. And I had 5 fruits on that one this year. Was really good. Very big fruits. Interesting crosses where it worked. I'm really looking forward to see some of the offspring. Multi-hybrid with Gräsers Schönste, Winnebar, Legon, I think. Yeah, all kinds of different classic hybrids. Okay. Very dirty. Had a lot of stuff here that shouldn't have even gotten into the sieve. But sometimes when you harvest seeds and you wait too long, you're too lazy, you forget, and then you find that the fruit has turned into a molten thing. Then you just have to try to get it as clean as possible without wasting seeds, because when you do that, it's kind of hard to separate the seeds from the liquid again. So I guess that's what happened here. Something where I forgot to clean it and then found it again. And in that case, it's often good to just clean it again, let it run through a second time. I will try to remove everything that's in there that shouldn't be in, but it's possible that we will have to do another water cleaning with a sieve. I've done that a few times on the channel. If you want to see how I do that, but it's basically just a very fine sieve where I press the pulp and the seeds and everything, press it against the sieve and try to run water through it to get just the seeds. Okay. Every now and then I sort out the viable seed here and there, but it's okay. And always happy to take questions if you want to know something. I'm just doing my stuff, but I'm always open to have a chat. If not, I will do a few more of these, few more different seed crosses that I need to clean. And yeah. Oh, I read about that. I haven't done it myself. I just have too many sieves. I have two big sieves, so I've always did it with that. But I heard about people using some sort of, or pantyhose, some kind of stuff for cleaning or even for grafting. That you can really use it in different kind of things that you want to do. But I never did it personally. I'm just used to my way to just run it through the sieve. It allows you to quickly move on, do another one. I usually clean maybe 10 fruits at once per day, and then you need to lay them out, dry them, so you always kind of limited in the space. Otherwise you have it all over the house, and I try not to do that. So yeah, but I'm always doing it with the sieve. And I think I will try to get a sieve with an even finer, with finer holes in it, for the Sörenseer. In the last 2 years, it always happened to me that when I'm cleaning seeds and then you don't look at the label and you're cleaning something, and when it's Sörenseer seeds, they are just too small. They go through. They just run through, and for that case, I might maybe get me another sieve, and if I don't get one, maybe I can try that out. That could be great for those. But it's the only thing where I really had problems. Okay. Still not clean. There was a lot of stuff that looked like seeds, just roasted. Like it looked a little bit like coffee grounds, that kind of stuff. I would bag it up now. I'm tired of it. I don't want to see it anymore. It's enough. Okay. And this is one of the hybrids here, the seeds, where they were from. This is one of the hybrids where I feel like I would probably grow them until I stop, until I retire, because it's such a nice kind of color. Beautiful, beautiful big flowers. Every year I show it, it looks great. Yeah, I mean, copper, you can use copper, but it always decreases. What you can't use it on too small seedlings, because copper has negative effects on the viability of seeds and that kind of stuff. But apart from that, I heard it being used. I haven't used it myself, but I have some sort of a copper kind of spray that I once got when I was like from a nursery where I had a lot of pots. I got a lot of pots, and there was also one tiny bottle of that copper thing, and it can be great to just create like an environment where the fungal infection just cannot grow. But of course, it's possible that some cacti have problem with it too. That's something I haven't really experimented with it. On paper, it will definitely work, but I can also see that the smaller the cacti, the more problems you can have with something like that. Some people use sulfur as some sort of a mild fungicide also. I have it. I used it in the past, but I was a little bit disappointed from it just because it was such a mild kind of fungicide. I felt like, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't really, when I was using it to cover a wound after grafting, that kind of stuff, I felt like it might even hurt more than it helped. When I used it as a dust, when you apply it as a dust to locally, then I felt like it just takes away visibility and oxygen from the wound, that kind of stuff. So I never really use a lot of fungicides. In general, I feel like it can make more sense if you want to prevent something like that, using maybe garlic extract. I've used garlic extract for quite some time, and they always recommended it because it prevented fungal infections, all kinds of situations where the plants just have a weak immune system. So that can also make sense, putting energy into just getting a decent product, fertilizer, to just give them a better health, or to also make the pH level just a little bit too inappropriate for fungal infections. Yeah, and on larger plants, you can certainly try it, but you would have to use, if you want to use it as a preventative, you have to use a lot of it, and if you use it for fungal infection, it might not be enough, because it has limits. So, but in my personal experience, I don't really can't tell you. I haven't tried it. It's nothing that I want to try, because I had read about it being a problem with the viability of seeds already, and I took that as a sign of maybe I shouldn't really go into that direction. But it can work. I'm sure it can. People are using it. They are selling it as a fungicide. So try it out. But very often when you have a discoloration, like with your super apricot, very often you don't even have to do something. like I said, that plant also gets a lot of discolorations without actually being infected. It just gets skin problems every now and then. So make sure when you remove something or when you treat it, make sure it's really an infection and not just the classic poor immune system kind of thing that you sometimes see from Super Apricot. It's just a white hybrid, intergeneric hybrid, and genetically not perfectly healthy. Same with Teleflora. And yeah, I mean, it has similar parents. Teleflora has Echinopsis irisi grandiflora in it. And Super Apricot is Super Gelb crossed with Echinopsis hybrid called Apricot. White hybrid, poor genetically compatibility. This year I was very close to sorting Super Apricot out, and I had to cut it back again because it was always sick. That plant never really thrived, and that was something that really I was surprised by that. The grafted plants all look great, so I'm a little bit torn about Super Apricot. I like it. I love the flowers, but it's also the genetic health with the fruit. You barely get any fruit from it or viable seeds. You just you have many crosses that you do with it that don't even get you seeds. It's just growing a fruit, but then you wait 2 months and you find out it's empty. That's my experience with Super Apricot. Very often. But it could be great as a fodder, maybe using it as a fodder on a column, something like that, you know. Okay. Fruit harvested on August 25th. Okay, next one. This is one of the fruits of Eckart's Schönste, and that one was great this year. Nice, beautiful red kind of color. And I had 5 fruits, I guess. 4 or 5. Not sure if it's self-fertile or not, but I'm currently leaning towards not. Leaning towards that it's actually able to have true hybrid crosses. But we will see. I'm not 100% convinced yet. It was the first time that it was the second time that it grew fruit, but it hadn't flowered last year. So I'm currently lacking the long-term experience with the plant to say if it reliably grows fruit every time. I think it does not. Thank you. I'm happy to have a look at the infection. This is the kind of stuff that I always do. Very often, in my opinion, there's a lot of discolorations that never turn into a real problem. The longer I'm doing it, the more often I have situations when I see an infection and think, oh, it will eventually come to a halt. And that often happens, that an infection runs out of steam, that the humidity in the wound is at some point gone and doesn't support the infection anymore. Of course, when you have a small plant like Super Apricot, then it doesn't make sense to do that. But if it's a large columnar cactus and you have a little infection somewhere at the tip, very often it just heals again over winter. the alternative would often be just to cut in winter, and that is not a good idea either. So whatever option you do, it has risks, and when I do it, I usually leave it alone. When the time isn't right, when it's not season to cut, then I have to be really 100% sure that when I'm cutting, it needs to be an infection that would stay. Not only an infection, but also an infection that would not heal again. And yeah, that the more often, the longer I do it, the less I do that kind of stuff. Cutting in winter, I really try to avoid it. I just recently, maybe 3 weeks ago, or maybe 5, 6, maybe, I saw 2 plants that had infections in the greenhouse, and at the time I decided to remove it, and so far everything has been going good. But every time I go into the greenhouse, I expect that I'm seeing the fungal infection coming back again, because you need that time to callus the wound, and in winter you just can't guarantee those kind of temperatures. If you are lucky in winter and the temperature in the greenhouse, you know, when you have a sunny winter, it can be really hot in the greenhouse, and then the wound can callus, but very often in winter it does not. Yeah. You usually have a lot of time before a fungal infection really progresses. Of course, there are exceptions to everything, also this, but on average, it's less likely. Fungal infection just takes the time, and it also often stops at a pop. So even if you have sometimes you have a plant that consists of three different, like a main plant and little pops left and right. If you have an infection on one of the side pops, very often that wouldn't even be able to spread to the main plant. It can happen, but very often it just stops at the pop. It's just a separate entity. And if the right fungal infection comes along, it can still spread, but in many cases it's just not that aggressive. You lose that little pop sometimes, but that's it. Okay. Yeah, Eckart's Schönste. Nice red kind of color. And nice ruffles also. I've seen it on the photo and I didn't like it. And then I saw it here and I was blown away. Really one of the best kind of Gräser follow-up hybrids. And also you can see that the color, just the flower color, is not like among all those Gräser hybrids. It's kind of similar. You can see a theme that a lot of them are just self-fertile. You often see that kind of a red kind of color that comes through from Gräser's Schönste and Gräser's Erfolg and whatever. They all have their unique color tone, but it's usually something in that reddish kind of area. Only recently you see the actual real color in some of the Gräser follow-up hybrids, in the hybrids by Andreas Schogadilla, great breeder, and he made that Annabella kind of hybrid that is so colorful and has ruffles, and that's the best kind of color that I have seen in the Gräser follow-up hybrid. Okay, I think I'm coming to an end soon with the stream. My battery will probably be around 20%, something like that. But it's been great being here again. If you have missed the beginning where I went on a long rant about social media, I actually feel like I made a point today. I really believe that what I said earlier, it's really the problem that we have today with social media. I want to say it again. I was really disappointed in the way they are running things in the last time. It's like they are trying to just look at what would be the moral choice to do, and they do the opposite of that. So I just hope that things will get better again. But really check that out. I was proud of what I said. I believe that I have grown as a person, as a creator. When I got started, I saw so much good. Then I got older, became a little bit more disillusioned, and now I'm trying to kind of be in between. Every now and then I say something that is where you see that I really love the internet. I really enjoy the internet. I really love being able to have friends all over the world with social media like it is now, because I knew how it was before that. I had to write a letter to the United States, to friends, just writing letters, and it would take weeks for them to arrive. So I'm a fan of the internet, and I see the good that social media does. But I think we are currently at a point when they are failing their moral responsibility. They just have a debt to society, debt to that whole world that allowed them to become who they are today. All the giants, all the social media giants that are currently, that you see, they were only able to become that through the internet and through the unique situation in the Silicon Valley that they had there. And they need to pay back, just as simple. They need to repay society and not make things worse. That is the thing that I just expect them to do. I understand that they earn money by advertising, that kind of stuff. I understand that, but they have to find their soul again. They have to become, I don't know, moral. Something moral needs to happen. Something needs to change. So, and I'm not meaning that in a way where, like, how old people scream at like the sky and that kind of stuff. I just believe that right now the public discourse has never been so bad. People are arguing all the time, and I feel they can do better. I feel they should not encourage divisiveness, not encourage arguing, and the fact that they are earning with that they are kind of that engagement and angry people earn their money is a conflict of interest that needs to be solved. That's all. Okay. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I love that you are here. And yeah, I'll be back. Thank you guys. I loved today. And I'll be back tomorrow having a new stream, and I appreciate it. So thank you guys. Thank you.